Welcome to Same Spit, Different Face TV. Well, my opinions is facts, and if you don't like my opinions, you can start your own podcast. And it's free. So don't forget to spit on the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification.
Now, Spit Squad, welcome back to Same Spit, Different Face podcast, episode 27. I'm Fairplay 2333, and let's talk about everything in hip hop and celebrity news. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul. Now, I think this fight is going to be pretty cool. Now, the question is, it's going to be an exhibition, right? So the real question is Tank Davis going to take a fall, or is Tank Davis going to get a draw? Now, Tank Davis is the professional here. He has the most to lose from losing this fight or drawing this fight. Jake Paul has a lot to lose, but Jake Paul can pivot right into wrestling with his brother Logan Paul. So it really wouldn't matter to him. But hopefully Tank Davis come out and take care of business, because his livelihood is on the line. And one thing that happened with boxers is after they lose, they not able to get the same amount of money. So Tank Davis better not come out here playing. Now, in other news, we got Drake. Drake basically filed an amended lawsuit against UMG, and he says he wants all the information on Kendrick Lamar's domestic violence past. Now, I know a lot of people are saying his alleged domestic violence past. Now, I know a lot of people are saying this is crazy, this isn't hip hop, what is Drake doing? Well, basically, when you say that somebody slandered you, Drake lawyers is thinking ahead, and Drake lawyers are basically saying, hey, if we end up saying that they slandered us, well, what they're going to do is they're going to come back and say that we slandered them. So what Drake is trying to do, he's trying to get ahead of that and actually get proof that, hey, yeah, I said some things on the records, but everything I said was true. It's no proof to them that I was anything that they said I was. The PDF allegations are not true, and yes, it's defamatory. So people can feel how they want to feel about the situation. That's cool with me, but I think that Drake has a case. And I feel like for any man in this world, if a man was walking around calling them a PDF, they would want to clear that up. They would want to get that allegation off their jacket. And the things about allegations like that, sometimes even when you clear it, people still don't want you to babysit their kids. They look at you weird for the rest of your life. Now, Tyler, the Creator, he ended up getting booed in New Jersey because he said, what's in New Jersey? I don't know anything here. I think Joe Budden lives here. So I don't know if that was basically a diss because of Joe Budden's review on his album, how people didn't really think the album was that good. And remember the Joe Budden podcast, they said that album wasn't for them, and they don't like the concept of where he was trying to go, etc. So it could have been a slight to them, but he gave the whole slight to Jersey. But it is what it is. Now, we need to talk about Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi came out and basically said, yo, because of what's went on with Diddy, I didn't really want to testify, but I had to testify because they subpoenaed me. Well, when they subpoenaed you, you could have just got there and said, I plead the fifth. When they subpoenaed you, you could have just got there and said, I don't recall, I don't recall, I don't recall. But instead, you got on the stand and tried to imply that, you know, things were going on between you and Diddy, and that it was hostile, and that it's because Cassie was trying to get away. Although Kid Cudi did tell the truth, it looked a certain type of way. But now, since Diddy is coming home, a lot of people are kind of backtracking. Now, let's shift to the WNBA. The WNBA players are basically saying that they want NBA-type salary, and Draymond Green said, hey, if y'all want NBA-type salary, let me see you do a 360 windmill. And it sounds funny, but what Draymond Green is actually saying is that, yes, you guys can play basketball. Yes, you are the WNBA. Yes, you are our sister program, but that's where it stopped. Draymond Green is basically saying, hey, you guys don't have the entertainment factor of us. But on the other hand, some women in the league could say, yo, Draymond, you don't have entertainment factor. You can't even do a 360 windmill. But what Draymond Green would come back and say is, hey, even though I can't do a 360 windmill, it's a bunch of guys in the league who can do 360 windmills. Like, think about when Obi Toppin, when the ball gets stuck on the top of the rim, Obi Toppin always goes out there, he jumps and get it off the top of the rim, and the fans love to see it, and it makes SportsCenter. So just think about that making SportsCenter, and then you look at some of the exciting plays of women basketball. It's like and ones, or it's threes, or a 4-point play for a three that got that the player hit and they got fouled. It's not a lot of entertainment. I don't want to say entertainment because the WNBA is very entertaining. So the word I'll use is excitement. But some of my favorite players, A'ja Wilson, I think she's the GOAT. I think she's passed Maya Moore as the GOAT of the WNBA. Then we got Angel Reese, of course. We got Cooper. She actually just came out with her version of the James Harden shoe. They fire. So the WNBA is in good hands. I won't say great hands yet. Oh, Paige Buckner is my top 2 players in the WNBA, even right now as a rookie. I feel like Paige Buckner could have came out as a senior out of high school. I felt like she could have came out and played in the WNBA. I think the WNBA also need to lower the age limit, but obviously they won't. Now, Young Thug, we all know that he's on probation. 2 things happened with him this week. Young Thug was able to basically do a give back at the school where he went to talk to some students, and he basically told them to avoid the streets. And if we look at Young Thug, he's been avoiding the streets as of lately, but he's been putting himself in the middle of street politics, calling people rats and stuff like that. But at his heart, this is how he feels, but also he has to keep up some of his image. Now, the other thing that's going on with Young Thug, Brian Steele basically went to court and made an argument that he should get all his stuff back from his case. And Judge Whitaker, she agrees with him. Now, Fonnie Willis is going to try to file an appeal against this because obviously all of that stuff he got, that's money for the police department. They could sell it off at auction and get a pretty penny off of it. So they want to keep that stuff, but they shouldn't keep that stuff. So hopefully Young Thug gets it back. Oh, and for more clarity, the deal that the WNBA players turned down, it went from a minimum of $66,000 a year to $250K a year, and from a maximum of $250K to $1 million a year. They turned that down. So they basically turned down a $750,000 pay increase for max players. Which, what job do you know do that? Now, when we go into the Julio Fulio situation, we got to look at this from a total different perspective. It was 5 people arrested. 1 was a girl. The girl in the situation is only saying that she was in the situation because she was forced to be there. She's saying that she was abused, and because of the abuse she went to, she had to follow what was going, or something could have happened to him. Now, first thing I want to say, I hope she get through this. I hope she wasn't abused and forced to be in this situation. But the reality of the situation is, a lot of women want them a rough guy. A lot of women want a thug. A lot of women want a street guy. And I'm not saying that that means they need to be abused or hit or anything. But what I'm saying is, a lot of times they put themselves in these decisions with the decisions they make, and they know what these guys be up to. They know that these guys are selling drugs. They know that they gang banging. They know that they got ops. They know that they shooting. These women are setting guys up. These women are getting locations. These women are stalking guys. These women are putting their friends on guys in order to get their locations so their boyfriends, cousins, uncles, and brothers can find these people later. And then when something happened, they hide their hand and act like, oh, I didn't know what was going on. I'm just an innocent woman in this situation. Like the same thing, the situation with Sha'Carri Richardson when she act out at the airport and she pushed her boyfriend into the thing. When the cops came to arrest her, she said, it's a man in this situation and I'm the one y'all arresting. And that's how most women look at it. I don't want to say most, but that's how women look at it. Some of them, they look at it and say, hey, it's a able-bodied man in this situation. Why are you talking to me? Why are you trying to take me to jail? Now, with this girl, she's not going to get off that easier. Alyssa Andrews is not going to get off that easy. The judge said, listen, if you feel like you were coerced into this, if you were forced into this, you need to give up your testimony. If you give up your testimony, I'll allow it to be added. But if you're not going to be able to play it both ways, you're not going to be able to not testify and try to say that you was abused. And a lot of times, people try to do that. They try to bring in that I was abused, or, that I'm mentally crazy, or that I'm this, but they don't want to tell what they know about it because they trying to keep some street semblance to it. And no, the judge is like, listen, I don't care about all that no snitch stuff. You need to basically give it up or get up out of here. And I think, if I can be honest, one part that she's probably looking at is like, yo, if I get on this stand and testify, I still have to go back and live in this same place and be a part of these same things. So that's one thing right there. Now, let's talk about Cam Newton. I'm going to read a quote and then I'm going to break it down for y'all. Heartbreaking. Cam Newton struggles with no longer being Superman to his 8 kids after losing his NFL salary. And then they got it in a quotation. Being in the NFL, everyone knows there's a large sum of money that comes to you in short spans of time, and being away from the game for years, those checks don't come in the same. Like, I got 8 kids. It hurts me knowing that I can't provide like I once did. It hurts thinking that I'm Superman, but in reality, I'm just a man. Cam only made $133 million in his NFL career. Now, with it saying only made, whoever wrote this article is basically trying to be sarcastic, and Cam Newton should have made better investments. Now, I'm going to say alleged with this article, because whoever wrote this article could just be lying. They could be making satire for clickbait. But one thing I will say is, if a person is in this situation where they dealing with their kids, you being there and spending time with them is more important. But when you have 8 kids and it's by different women, you're not going to be able to hang out and see them all. And that changes the dynamics of your relationship and stuff like that. But if money is really the problem, I believe that Cam is going in the right direction. And the reason I believe he's going in the right direction is because, when you look at it, he got his podcast, and his podcast is popping, and he'll be able to get sponsorships. And then he just got his jersey retired at Auburn, which is another accolade under his belt, which when he comes in and talk about football, he can not only say, I'm an MVP of the NFL, he can say that I got my jersey retired at Auburn. I won a national championship there. I won a national championship at Florida. I made all these accolades, and that boosts his pay scale. My bad. I had to get a sip of water, man. I don't understand why it's always so dry in my office. But I think this is a bigger question, because I hate the fact that a lot of these guys end up having all these kids, and these kids be scattered everywhere. And then it takes to it get to this point, or it to get late in their life, in their 40s, they 35s, 40s, 50s, till they figure out like, yo, I didn't do what was right for my child. But when everybody be trying to tell them, yo, you having too many kids, you need to find somebody to settle what down with. If you want to have a bunch of kids, just have it by one lady. They say, oh, you hating, you don't understand the type of appetite I have as the man I am, and I got all this money at my disposal, and I see beautiful women every day. All that tells me is that you lack discipline. Now, over to the Tory Lanez situation. Tory Lanez lawyer today revealed in his appeal that fingerprint evidence was withheld, which proved it was impossible for him to have fired the gun 5 times, and that the serial number was never searched by LAPD to identify the owner of the gun that was shot. Now, what are they basically saying? Now, I remember when I was first doing this, I was telling y'all that his fingerprints weren't on the gun. And a bunch of y'all kept telling me, no, it means inconclusive. That means it could be him or it could not be him. And what Tory Lanez appeal lawyer was basically saying is that inconclusive doesn't mean, oh, it could be him, it could not be him. Now, maybe in the standard term, the standard definition of it, it may mean that. But when it comes to fingerprints and firearms and stuff, inconclusive means, in Tory Lanez case, it's a 1 out of 1,000,000 chance that he did it. So let's just say you come home and 100 people been in and out your house that day because you were hosting a party. And when you come home, you notice that your umbrella is missing because it was raining earlier that day. And so now you have a 1 in 100 chance that somebody took your umbrella. You know you didn't take the umbrella. So what does that mean? That means you can't blame anybody else definitively because it was too many people there. Now, if you have other people there, now let's just say from Tory Lanez standpoint, you have 4 more people. You got 4 people at the party who left during the time it was raining. Now that dwindles it down. So now you have a 4 out of 100 chance of finding the right person. So it's 96 people you know for a fact it wasn't, and it's 4 people that it's a possibility that it is. Now, imagine if you only fingerprinted one person, and then the other 3 people who was in a situation, you basically just say, nah, I ain't gonna fingerprint them. And then the other 2 people who are friends, they end up saying, yo, the other person, the one who took it, we saw him take it. But then you notice that one of the friends is wet. They wet, but the other friend is not wet. The other friend is dry. So would you be more likely to think that the 2 friends colluded against the one person that they was upset with or they didn't know? Or the person who fingerprints you did take showed up inconclusive, which means it was a 1 out of 100 chance that they didn't do it. I think you would go with the inconclusive. So hopefully that breakdown wasn't too confusing, but it's a lot of things going on, and these judges are 3 women. They say it's 3 women and 1 black woman, and they have to basically make a ruling on it. Now the hard part about this is that this is 3 women, and this is a domestic violence case, just being honest. So it could be a lot of flack for these women on this domestic violence case, because people could say, well, as a woman, and then there's 1 black woman, oh, you're not protecting a woman. So it's really crazy right now, but we got to see what happened. Now, Fat Joe basically sit down with Jadakiss, and he say the rap game is full of snitches now, and he said that he don't like snitches, and when people snitch, he normally don't listen to their music, but he said he ended up listening to Gunna music, and Gunna's music is fire. But he gives a bunch of stories about how, like, he had a homie that was his homie for like 20 years, and he ended up snitching, and he haven't talked to him ever since he did that and stuff like that. But I honestly didn't understand the purpose of this conversation, except for him saying that the game has shifted and the game is different now. That's the only thing to me that I would gather from that. But we know Fat Joe, he's like an amazing storyteller. He tells some of the most elaborate, crazy stories, whatever you want to call them. But he basically, to my opinion, is just basically saying like the rap game has changed now and that snitches are being accepted. But guess what? If you don't want a snitch to be accepted, right? And this is my thought process from Fat Joe's perspective. If you don't want a snitch to be accepted, all you have to do is, if you Fat Joe, go on your podcast and don't talk about them. Things that you want to go away, you just ignore them when it comes from a PR standpoint. And everybody will basically be like, damn, ain't nobody talking about that Gunna album, or ain't nobody talking about that other person album. It must not be fire. But obviously they gonna mention Gunna, or Fat Joe gonna mention Gunna, because he know it's clickbait. So Fat Joe know what he doing right there. Now, for the Joe Budden podcast, Melissa Ford basically had some type of situation come up, and they not explaining exactly what it is, but she ended up going to HR, and HR told her that she should try to sue. Now, I've been telling y'all for a while that Melissa Ford is problematic, and we have to remember how she left that show with Jason Lee, that's his name. She got into some situations with him on there, and a lot of times I like Melissa Ford, but to be honest with you, I don't think that she brings a lot to the show. I mean, you got to look at it. They talk crazy about Flip all the time. They talk crazy about Ish all the time. They pry into everybody's personal life. Joe Budden even shares his personal life. So if you're on a platform where everybody give it up and they talk about their personal life, you can't then say, oh, I'm the woman on it, so I don't want to talk about my personal life because I'm a woman. But that's like working at UPS and you work in part of it where you a package handler. And all the men in that section have to lift 60-pound boxes. But then when it come your turn to lift the 60-pound boxes, you say, oh, I'm a woman, I shouldn't have to lift these 60-pound boxes. No, what you should have done is not accepted the job if you couldn't handle the qualifications to do the job. So when I look at it, I'm not gonna lie, man. I've always wondered, what do she bring to it? Now, somebody like Don't Call Me White Girl, I don't think she's the best podcaster, but what I do think is I do think she gives it up. I do think she knows how to interact with men and not make it awkward. I do think that she knows how to not make everything feminized. And when I say feminized, like, I feel like she don't make everything like an attack on her. And I think a lot of times what Melissa Ford will do is they may ask her something she don't want to talk about, or they may mention something, or they may catch her in a lie, and then she instantly goes into, hey, you guys always do me like that. You guys are always bringing up my personal business. Hey, behind the scenes, I've told you plenty of times not to mention that. And that's how Joe Budden continue to end up in these lawsuits with these women. And if I'm Joe Budden, I'm not bringing more women. If it's not Don't Call Me White Girl, I'm not bringing any more women onto my platform, because you try to make it an even space. You try to give it something that women can come in and have their own representation. But most times when I'm looking at Joe Budden, when he bring them in, they end up acting like it's a hostile work environment. He's losing more money dealing with the women than he is dealing with the man. And I'm just speaking from the lawsuits and the payouts and all of this other stuff that go on. So who knows how he'll handle this situation. But if it's not Don't Call Me White Girl, I think Melissa Ford just need to be able to move on, give her a little severance package, let her do Hot and Bothered, and let her see that she's not as hot as she thinks she is on her own. And that's a problem sometimes. A lot of times people come into spaces that's already developed, spaces that's already hot, and then they catch some of that heat, but then they start to think, you know what? I'm just as hot as this person. I'm just as hot as this platform. I'm the reason that this is all me. And they don't even understand, like, yeah, you hot, but would you have been hot, or would you be getting this recognition that you're getting right now if you weren't a part of this podcast that's going on? So for me, I would not never ever never work with Melissa Ford, just based off of, not in a talking capacity. Now, if we was acting in something together, yeah, I would do that. But after we got done acting and they yelled cut, I'd go to my trailer, she'd go to her trailer. I would not interact with her off the screen, especially because I'm a sarcastic person and I joke a lot. And she seems like the person who is cool until she feels like you've made a joke that may be too rough on her, or you give that one sarcastic remark, and then from that moment forward, she's looking to get back at you. Another thing we can go into is Angel Reese again. Now, what Angel Reese has going on is she has her new shoe dropping. Now, I think the smart thing about her new shoe dropping is she's dropping 3 colorways. She's dropping a diamond dust one, which is a white shoe that kind of got like an iridescent look to it, like a pinkish green, but it's slightly dusted. You can't really tell unless you get close, or maybe once the light shine off of it. Then she has a pink pair. I'm assuming pink is one of her favorite colors. But more importantly, what was so smart is that she came out with a black and white pair. Just a basic pair. And with the black and white pair, you can wear it if you have a black jersey, if you have a white jersey, if you have a gray jersey. It'll go with a litany of colors as far as jerseys or workout outfits, but also at the same time, it's something that the men can wear who, like, I want to support Angel Reese, but I don't want to buy a pink shoe. I want to support Angel Reese, but I don't want to buy a white and iridescent shoe. So now it gives them the option to, they can't say, oh, I didn't support her because of the shoe color. No, go out there and get it. So it drops on September 18th. I do personally plan to get a pair of the black and white ones, and I'll definitely be working out in them. So salute to Angel Reese. And I do have a shoe channel. It's called Kicking It with Fairplay 2333. That's KICKINWITH Fairplay 2333. So y'all can check that out on YouTube, and y'all can follow that on all platforms. Now, DJ Academics, he basically covered a situation of Whack 100 and Lil Zay Osama. And Whack 100 been calling Lil Zay Osama a snitch because he got caught with a switch. And Whack been saying, yo, how you get caught with all of this stuff and you only get the amount of time you get? So what DJ Academics do is he pull up the paperwork. The paperwork shows the time guidelines, and the guidelines basically says 21 months to like 27 months or something like that. So what basically ends up happening is that he actually did get caught within the guidelines. Now, maybe Whack 100 was thinking like, yo, he got caught in the car. They said that they found all these guns in the trunk and they charged him for it, and why he didn't get charged for that, how he get caught with all this stuff and didn't go down. And so what Whack 100 probably didn't hear, or what he didn't know, is that Laneez Osama ended up getting those charges dropped, which means somebody who was in the car probably took the charges for those guns, and they probably said, hey, it's better for Laneez Osama to be on the street making money, being able to take care of me while I'm in here and being able to help my family out, than him being in jail and all of us losing our spot in the game. Now, I will say that is commendable, but the first thing I'll say is that if you the head of your if you the head of your record label, if you the rapper, or if you the basketball player, if you the money, if you the talent, if you the education, what I will say is that you shouldn't be getting anyone in trouble anyway, and you should be trying to pull those people away from that lifestyle. But I do understand that Laneez Osama is still kind of young. I do understand that Laneez Osama has gone through a lot of traumatic situations, and so a person like that, you kind of want to give them grace, man. But a lot of people don't give people grace for the traumatic situations they go through, and a lot of times in the black community especially, we go through some of the most traumatic things ever. Like, I remember when I was like, I probably would have been like 13 or 14, and one of my friends that I used to play football with in the field on 69th and Morgan, and we used to play basketball in the cage on 69th and Carpenter, he ended up getting killed. And when he got killed, they ended up setting him on fire and put him in a garbage can behind his mom's house. Now, I know that sounds graphic, right? And it definitely is graphic. But the point I'm saying is, all the things I was going through at that time mentally, trying to suppress what happened and wondering if the person who did it to him was still out there, and just wondering what did he do to deserve it, if he deserved it. And I know a lot of people will say a person would never deserve nothing like that. But in the hood, the politics are different, man. You can do something, you can run off with something, you can say something, the wrong thing to somebody, and in the hood, that would justify it. I'm not saying I justify it. I'm just saying that in the hood, you have to understand the rules to the game in order to be able to survive them. And sometimes understanding the rules to the games and trying to keep yourself sane and keep moving forward in life, you have to be able to justify when crazy things like those happen by being able to say, well, you know, maybe this is what happened, so this is why that happened, or maybe this, all that type of stuff. But anyway, to keep it moving forward, just the trauma that Laneez Osama has went through in his life, if you hear about his life story and how he grew up, a lot of people don't take into account that when you go through trauma at a young age, it changes you forever. So that's the reason why I want to give him grace. Now, once he started reaching that 25, 26, 27, 28, or I'll say 30 just to be fine. When he started reaching that 30 age, then we got to start having a different conversation. But at this point, I would basically just say, blessings to him and prayers that he get a chance to change his life before something more serious happen in this situation. But to be clear, DJ Academics debunked the fact that Zay Osama snitched. If y'all don't know what debunked mean, that just means he proved it wrong, and Lil Zay Osama did not snitch. Now, another Tory Lanez story. Now, one thing we know about Megan Cuniff is that she does not like Tory Lanez, and at the beginning of the Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez trial, she was calling it fair. But then at some point, Roc Nation told her she was doing a great job and that she was the real media and everybody else wasn't really doing it justice. And they manipulated her, and she didn't see it, or maybe she did see it, but what she wanted more was that recognition, because she blew up after that, because everybody started going to her as if she was like that it person. And she was basically not given all the exact information. If something bad came out that made Tory look bad, she would post on it. If it was something that came out that made Tory look good, she wouldn't post on it, or she would post around it. What do I mean post around it? Like earlier, I talked about fingerprints being inconclusive. Well, she would speak about the fingerprints being inconclusive, but she wouldn't tell exactly what that mean. And she's been in a lot of courtrooms, she's dealt with a lot of court cases, and she's too seasoned of a journalist to not know. So if she was somebody new, I would give her the benefit of the doubt, but I couldn't. Now, Dennis Byron, he's an attorney, right? And he basically gave an update, and he said it does appear rapper Tory Lanez has a strong chance of having his sentence reversed based on prosecutorial misconduct. Also, Megan Cunniff, stop trying to police black content creators because you got scooped on a story. Weren't you not the one snitching on them during the Tory Lanez trial? Stay out my nephew's DMs. Unc got him covered. So basically, it appears that she's basically saying, hey, she's either saying you guys got it wrong, or why are you guys putting this information out? This is not true. It's too early. Whatever the case may be, he don't like it because Megan was one of the people who changed the public perception of everything that was going on. She was the one who was basically saying Tory's going to jail. He's going to jail for 8 years and he won't be getting out. And after I've seen all the facts, and it's not true that she saw all the facts. She did not see all the facts, but that's just how it goes sometimes. I appreciate everybody for tuning in for episode 27 of Same Spit Different Face podcast by Fairplay 2333. If you're new to the channel and want more celebrity and hip hop content, hit the subscribe button. And if you hit the subscribe button, you're a part of the Spit Squad. So hit the like button and drop the flex emoji in the comments. Check out my original Chicago hood movie in the end screen, No Time to Play Fair. If you into sneakers, you a sneakerhead, you love seeing the new Jordans, Pumas, whatever it may be, subscribe to Kicking It with Fairplay 2333. If you trying to follow me on my basketball journey, my weightlifting and fitness journey, and also be inspired to get back on your fitness journey, subscribe to Fairplay, Flex, and Fadeaway. Also, any of these pages I just named, you can also find them on TikTok or Instagram.